Hey guys, Harry here and welcome to a new series of summer transfer targets. Today we're looking at Manchester United, obviously play in the Barclays Premier League under the management of Louis van Gaal, who is currently 63 years old. They've had a pretty decent season, they've reached the target of getting to the Champions League and barring a miracle they will come fourth, which as I said is their target. Anyway, moving on to the transfers. First transfer is Paul Pogba of Juventus. Very good central midfielder. Of course he used to play for the club but left because of lack of playing time. Born in France and still a very young prospect at the age of 22. He's got it all, he's got very good passing abilities, very good long shot on him, and he can also make the odd tackle as well, so very good player there. Moving on to a central defender, which at the start of the season Manchester United definitely needed. Maybe not so much as the season progressed as the defence has improved, but still Mats Hummels would be a brilliant signing from Borussia Dortmund. As I said, central defender and born in Germany, won the World Cup last year and is 26 years old, so arguably getting into the prime of his career, and would add that little bit of experience to the backline of Manchester United. Moving on to another central defender, Diego Godin of Atletico Madrid, born in Uruguay and is 29 years old, so arguably as well in the peak of his career. Hasn't had as good a season this season as last season, but still been a very solid part of Atletico Madrid and definitely one of the best players. Again, he would provide some experience and his positioning is second to none. It's very good. Maybe lacks a little bit of pace, but still a very good player. Moving on to a central midfielder which was heavily linked with Tottenham and Arsenal in the last window, which is of course Morgan Schneiderlin. Manchester United rumoured to be wanting a central midfielder as that area of the pitch could arguably be argued as being weak. Although Michael Carrick is a brilliant player, he has been injured several times throughout the season and they need to look to replace him in the future when he eventually retires. Morgan Schneiderlin, currently 25 years old, has had a fantastic season for Southampton, born in France, very good passer and can get the odd goal as well. Moving on to a very possible transfer actually in recent weeks, which is Gareth Bale from Real Madrid. It's been rumoured that he could possibly be swapped for David De Gea. David De Gea looks like he'll be going to Real Madrid and these two might swap over. At the minute though, it's still pretty unlikely to happen. It would be an incredible transfer for United if it did. Bale he's still had a good season at Real Madrid, but he's come under a lot of pressure from the fans and may want to leave. 25 years old, so like the others, getting into his peak of his career arguably, still very young and born in Wales. Moving on to the sixth player, which is Moussa Sissoko, another central midfielder playing for Newcastle who could still get relegated at the time this video is recorded, going into the last game of the season. They've had an awful season after a promising start, lost like 8 games in a row under John Carver, and Moussa Sissoko, very powerful, very good passer, can dribble the ball very well. Not sure Manchester United are going to go for him, but still a possible signing, and 26 years old. Moving on to Ross Barkley, who's an attacking midfielder for Everton. He's obviously been linked with the biggest clubs in England, the likes of Chelsea, Manchester City, Arsenal and United. Very fast player, doesn't get many assists or goals to be honest. There was a stat saying he got 1 assist in the last 60 appearances at one point in the season, but no doubt he's a very good attacking player and does link up play very well. Still very young at 21 years old, and if one of the biggest clubs could purchase him now, he would definitely be one for the future. Moving on to Virgil van Dijk of Celtic, very experienced defender considering his age. Hasn't really broken to the Netherlands team yet, but still very solid player for Celtic. Obviously the Scottish League isn't the most difficult to play in, but he still showed good positional awareness, and when he's played in the Champions League has been very good. So this could be another good signing for United. They could obviously improve their back line with this signing. Another central defender which has been heavily linked with Manchester United in recent months is Miranda of Atletico Madrid. Currently 30 years old, so arguably starting to get to the end of his career. Probably got 3 or 4s left in him at the top of his career. Born in Brazil, been brilliant for Atletico Madrid in the last few seasons. Very good positionally. At corners and free kicks, defending them, he is brilliant and will also score goals as well from time to time. Very strong defender there. Moving on to a possible striker. Now Manchester United are believed to getting rid of Robin van Persie possibly, and it looks definitely like Falcao will be leaving, so they do need to strengthen that area of the pitch, and Edison Cavani would be a good signing for them. Obviously he plays for PSG up front with Ibrahimovic most of the time. Rumoured to be at times unhappy with getting pushed out wide for PSG because of Ibrahimovic taking the main role, but he has enjoyed this season. PSG have won the league, of course, and he's 28 years old, so like the others, getting into the peak of his career. Moving on to the 11th player, which is Marco Reus of Borussia Dortmund. Definitely a world-class player. Didn't play in the World Cup because of injury, but he's got skills, he's got goals, he's a very good passer, absolutely brilliant player for Borussia Dortmund, probably their best player, and could lead, especially after the disappointing season they've had. It was a very bad start, but of course they've turned it around a bit, but they won't get into the Champions League. And of course Jurgen Klopp is leaving, 26 years old, so another player getting into the peak of his career, and it would help to add to Manchester United's lack of right-footed players in that area of the park, and he's definitely a very good possible signing. Moving on to the 12th player, which is another central midfielder, which is Kevin Strootman. As I said, Manchester United need to strengthen this area. He plays for AS Roma. He's been heavily linked with the club after working under Louis van Gaal in Netherlands. 25 years old, very good at free kicks, very good passer of the ball, but most importantly he's a good defender. His positional play is second to none, and that's what makes him a very, very good player. Moving on to Yassine Brahimi of Porto FC. Obviously he plays as a winger and has been linked with a numerous amount of top clubs, including Bayern Munich, Chelsea and Arsenal. Very pacey young winger, 25 years old, born in France, but plays for the Algerian national team. And he's just got that bit of skill and trickery maybe Manchester United have lacked this season, especially because Di Maria hasn't been at his best, and therefore would probably be a very good signing. Nigel de Jong has also been heavily linked with Manchester United after working under Louis van Gaal. Another central defender, very, very good in defence, will make a lot of crunch tackles, may lack a bit of discipline at times and suffer because of it in terms of red and yellow cards, but nevertheless a very, very good player in defence in the central midfield. 30 years old, so arguably getting to the end of his career, but still would be a very experienced and helpful signing to Manchester United. Moving on to the 15th player, which is Jackson Martinez of FC Porto. Now this player has been linked with numerous clubs in Europe, including Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea and more in recent years. Very, very clinical player, very fast, scores a lot of goals, born in Colombia, and is 28 years old, so very experienced, and would add that little bit of pace to Manchester United's front line and would be a very, very useful signing. Moving on to Raja Nainggolan of AS Roma, another central midfielder. He's very, very good in defensive wise, not scared to make the tackle, and his positional play is also very good. Also a very good passer of the ball, and has been instrumental in Roma's recent success in Serie A. Although they haven't come close to winning the title this year or last season, they have generally played very, very well, and this guy's been a large part of it. Born in Belgium and is 26 years old. Moving on to the 17th player, which is Koke of Atletico Madrid. Seems to be a lot of Atletico Madrid players being linked. He's another central midfielder, but normally plays a more advanced role. 23 years old and has been linked with the likes of Barcelona and Real Madrid. Very good passer, very good dribbler of the ball, will score a lot of goals as well. Has suffered from injuries in recent times, but would add that bit of creativity to Manchester United's team sometimes they lack. Although this has been improved this season because of the likes of Herrera being added to the squad and the rejuvenation of Juan Mata. Moving on to a right back who has been heavily linked to leave Barcelona this summer, and that is of course Dani Alves. Now Manchester United have a bit of a problem at right back. They've got Valencia, who's done pretty well in that position considering he's not that's his regular position, but someone like Dani Alves would be a brilliant signing for Manchester United. It's believed he wants to stay at Barcelona, Dani Alves. It's just whether or not they can settle a contract agreement. Absolute brilliant player. I think he's great. Very good attacking. There has been some arguments over his defensive abilities, but I think he's a very good player. 31 years old, so definitely getting to the end of his career, but still would offer Manchester United a lot of talent on the right side. Moving on to the 19th player, which is Rafael Varane of Real Madrid. Very young central defender and has been praised around Europe for his speed and power in defence. Obviously it looks like he'll be Real Madrid's future regular central defender, but there has been rumours he might want to leave because of a lack of game time this season because of Pepe and Sergio Ramos in particular, but in my opinion I think he'll stay. But if Manchester United did sign him, it would be a brilliant signing. Not necessarily adding experience, but would definitely be a good central defender for the future, and obviously he plays for France. Moving on to another central midfielder, which is Ilkay Gundogan of Borussia Dortmund. Now there had been rumours that Manchester United had agreed a fee of 25 million for him a few weeks ago, but that has seemed to die down. Still very young at 24 years old. Has suffered a major injury in the last 2 years which set him out of the game for quite a few months, but came back from that and has been doing relatively well, so this would be another good signing for Manchester United if they could get him. Again, just add that bit of creativity to the middle of the park and a few defensive abilities as well. Moving on to the 21st player, which is Marco Verratti of PSG, a very hard working player who plays for the Italian national team and is a regular starter for both club and country. Very good passer of the ball, can get the odd goal as well, but as I said, his main trait is his ability to work very hard throughout the match and make those vital tackles when needed. Manchester United need that kind of player who's not afraid to make the tackle and will be working constantly throughout the match. Ji-sung Park used to do this very well. Obviously he just never gave up and was working as hard as he could throughout the match, and Marco Verratti would be a very good player for Manchester United. 22 years old, so still very young, and as I said, plays for Italy. Moving on to the 22nd player, which is Marco Icardi of Inter Milan. He plays as a striker and is born in Argentina, plays for the Argentinian national team. Still very young at 22 years old, very fast player and clinical player. Has been rumoured to be leaving to many of the top clubs this season. We'll just have to see what happens. As I said, Manchester United may have a shortage in that area, and it would add a bit of pace to the front line. Moving on to the 23rd player, probably a player not many of you would have heard of, another striker who plays for Fluminense in the Brazilian league, who is Kennedy. Very young player, 19 years old. Not many will have heard of him, born in Brazil. Looks like he's got a lot of pace. He's done very well in the league this season and would be a good signing for the future of for Manchester United. Moving on to the penultimate player, which is Nathaniel Clyne of Southampton. As I said, Manchester United don't really have strength in depth in the right back position, and Nathaniel Clyne has been heavily linked to be moving to United this season. It has been rumoured in the next week or so he will decide if he wants to stay at Southampton or move to Manchester United for around 30 million. But very strong, hard-working right back, and has obviously got an appearance for England. 24 years old and would be a very good player for Manchester United. And the final player, who is also a right back, is Kyle Walker of Tottenham. He's been linked with Manchester United over recent years, not really heavily, but just kind of off and on. 24 years old, can be a few questions over his defensive abilities, but his pace and strength on counter-attacks and attacking wise overlapping is very strong for Tottenham, and can provide a lot of assists and possibly goals if played in the right way for Manchester United. So would be a good player, and he is relatively experienced despite being 24 years old, so I think would be a good transfer for United. Anyway, that's the video guys, hopefully you've enjoyed. Please bear in mind at the time you're watching, some of these transfers may already have been taken place, or they've moved to another club. Just bear that in mind. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you have, subscribe if you want to see more, and goodbye.